This is part 2 of my Bug Fables challenge. If you missed part 1, make sure you go and see that first. Without further ado, let's go on to chapter 5. So, the beast is kind of interesting because, it, well, I guess it's not really interesting, but it's difficult. It's very difficult. Um, I remember not really being able to beat it the first time I went around trying this. Um, but now it's a lot easier now that I have Chompy and I know a bit more about the game. Um, common trend with the future bosses is a secret stash. Uh, that's the move you get for completing V's request. It's very good. Just a very big, long-lasting heal. It really helps out. Whenever you have that, it's just a matter of basically just doing enough damage to the beast. At 10 HP, the beast is going to like you know, do a scripted event where it kills all your party members and just Kabu does like a 1v1. That part's free, especially now. I don't even think you really have to block for that. It, it's fine. It's an easy win from there. Yeah, that's basically it. And even if Kabu is down, he'll get revived for that cutscene. Like if he's down before the scripted event, he'll come up for the cutscene. So this fight's easy. So Riz is actually a pretty fun fight. He has this interesting, well, it's not a gimmick, but he has a unique status he can inflict on you called Ink. And basically what it does is it prevents you from using your special moves, if I recall correctly. Yeah. You can't use your specials. So it, as long as you block his attacks, you won't get inked. But that's a bit harder than it sounds because he'll do fake out attacks later, whenever you start draining his health down. So the fight can get pretty tricky later, but if you do the strategy we talked about in the last session, which was uh, which was getting him down to roughly half health and then start frigid coffining him, uh, he, and just sinking away at his turns, the fight becomes a lot easier then. So yeah, just keep freezing him, and he should be done like nobody's business. So General Ultimax is kind of a joke fight here. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. Just take down each of his minions, and he's basically rendered useless as long as you block. Because I think he only does 1 damage per slap. Yeah, there's not much to talk about. This is an easy fight. Oh boy, Primal Weevil. Okay. Uh, this fight gave me a lot of trouble. Basically all of his attacks do massive damage, and you're gonna fail this fight a lot. Um, and I did not end up using Secret Stash, I don't think. I might have, I'm not sure. Uh, or not Secret Stash, Sharing Stash. If so, if I didn't, then it's probably a pretty good thing to use here, uh, because it's just 6 HP heal to the entire party. No, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. He has a lot of attacks. Make sure you block them all because they just do so much damage. Uh, you want to make sure you keep all your party members alive, uh, good, just so that way you can do as much damage as possible per turn. Because you just want this fight to end quickly. You don't want it to drag on because the Primal Weevil is just going to keep doing more and more damage. Occasionally he can summon in like a smaller enemy. If he does, that's kind of a run killer because then you have to take time to either kill the enemy, or you just have to keep attacking the Primal Weevil with the enemy, still continuously attacking you. So either way, it's a lose lose. Just hope it's like my situation where if he does summon an enemy, it's at the very end. Um, but this fight definitely is possible, and with enough skill and determination, you should get through it. One thing I'd like to point out, because I almost used the skill, Royal Decree. You get that skill for this fight. And it raises your attack and defense, like the entire party's attack and defense for, I think it's one turn? It's either one or two turns, and it's 5 TP. Um, Theoretically, I could see this, I could see this being like a useful tool. I don't think it's that helpful, especially since we're so low on TP. It, I wouldn't recommend using Royal Decree. You have so many better options. But yeah, time to move on to the Coliseum. So I'm just gonna cover the entire Coliseum right here. So for the first fight, it's just two random enemies. For this fight, I would recommend using Heavy Strike on Kabu to finish the pumpkin guy early. The fight can go on a lot longer if you don't use DP. So I would recommend at least just doing that right at the start. It saves a lot of time and a lot of health. Um, and then just take care of the spider like normal. The second fight, Cross and Poi. I forgot exactly what I did, but there's no penalty for getting rid of one of them like early on. So I think Cross is, yeah, you want to get rid of Cross early, I think. Get him down and just focus on Poi afterwards so you take a lot less damage. Um, because Poi doesn't have a whole lot of like multi-hit attacks. So she's pretty okay. And then the last fight, Zaspa Motiva. If you want to do this optimally, I would recommend uh, if you're doing this without Ryuji and you actually have EXP, I'd recommend setting your EXP so that way you level up as you beat the Cross and Poi fight. Because the Zaspan Motiva fight is very, very tricky if you don't. Basically, they're just better versions of how they were in Chapter 2. And in terms of HP, attack, all that. So I'm not going to really discuss a whole lot because my strategy is basically the same. But yeah, it's a lot easier whenever you have full HP and TP, which is not something I did here because I wanted to be a gamer. But yeah, that's it. And after this, we'll move on to Ultimax Tank. Did I say Ultimax Tank? I meant all the super bosses. So yeah, we're doing that. Uh, Whenever I was doing the challenge, I heavily feared the Ultimax Tank for reasons we'll see later. So I just decided to do all the super bosses first and think about that later. So here we have the False Monarch, and it's honestly just the easiest super boss. I don't know why it's so much easier than everything else, because okay, so like it doesn't have that much HP, and like all of its attacks do so little damage. Like I think most like its most damaging attack does like 4 damage, and he rarely uses it, and it's just like And once, yeah, it's a like he does 4 damage once. It's just so weird. I don't really know why. It's such an easy fight, especially since, in my opinion, he's like the easiest super boss to find. But easy super boss, easy win. So Peacock Spider, jeez. Oh, this fight sucks. I thought for a while that this fight was just going to be impossible. I'm pretty sure this was the first fight where I actively had to like stop recording and then try and then start a whole new session later. This fight was awful. And like, okay, so this fight right now, on this video, is going to be like a minute and a half or something like that, maybe like a little over a minute. The actual, the full length of the attempt took like 8 minutes. This fight is very difficult when you don't have TP to spare. Um, so basically, like what I do at the start is I freeze it just so that way I have an extra turn of just doing a bunch of damage. And then basically from there I have to stall. I have to do like I basically attack it as much as I can with either V or leaf, and then Chompy I just attack this enemy it spawns, and it hopefully it does that enough times to where eventually like it goes down. But this fight. I'm not gonna say much more. I don't want to go through this fight. You can see what happens. Peacock Spider, it uh it buffs the enemy it spawns. So if it gives it attack, you might just want to kill it. Uh, yeah, use sharing stash well, and you should get through this fight a-okay. Well, no, not a-okay. This fight sucks. Don't do it. I often go back and forth on deciding whether Tidal Worm or Peacock Spider is the hardest super boss in this game. It's probably Tidal Worm though. This fight is just like Peacock Spider took me a long time to beat, and it's no pushover. It's no pushover at all. The basic strategy I have is actually what was my strategy? I I had a set rhythm where I just attacked the tail ever so often. I would keep track of how many times I hit the tail right and how many I would actually need to hit the tail in order for Tidal Worm to go down. So yeah, this fight is really, really tough. And if like Peacock Spider I thought was like almost impossible, I was almost guaranteed that Tidal Worm was going to be impossible. I think the only reason I actually like continued the fight was that I got it down to about like below 20 HP on one attempt. And I was like, yeah, well, it's possible, so I guess I gotta do it. Um, I'm pretty sure both of these past fights you have to be basically perfect for. Um, so yeah, just keep track of what I'm doing, and hopefully some of it makes sense. Just don't do the super bosses. Do the false monarch and maybe the devourer. That's it. Don't do Tidal Worm and Peacock Spider in this challenge, please. They're optional. Funny story about Seedling King. Whenever I first tried this fight in the conditions that I have now, it wasn't on recording. I just wanted to test it out, see if it was any more difficult than the past two fights I just went through. And I did it first try, and I was like, oh, hey, sweet, that's cool. And then I actually booted up the recording software, and then it took like 5 tries. I didn't know what went wrong there, but apparently there seems to be a bit of RNG involved with the fight. Sometimes you just might get lucky, sometimes you might not. I think the same was with Scarlet Munzir as well. Just sometimes you're gonna get a bit unlucky, but this fight's pretty easy. Just keep attacking with leaf. Um, whenever he reaches the halfway mark, that's probably when you want to start. Or just whenever he gets down, you want to start freezing him and making sure he can't attack because he will do a lot of damage whenever he gets off his little seat there. So yeah, this fight's not too difficult. It's definitely harder than the False Monarch, but nowhere near as difficult as the past two fights. Then we have Devourer. Honestly, I thought this was going to be the hardest of the boss fights, and I turns out that was incredibly wrong. I don't know, like Devourer is such a weird fight just because he takes out one of your party members and you just can't do a thing about it. I thought this was going to take forever, but turns out no, this actually was very simple. At the beginning, I take advantage of the fact that when you frost relay, if you miss the final attack as V, you do one extra damage. I don't really know why, but I'll take it. If you do that, then you should have enough damage to go through the fight quickly, so that way, uh, I'm pretty much you just need to get, you need to finish the fight before the second little guy spawns, the little fly trap guy. I don't know what they're called. But yeah, that's basically it. Fight's easy, simple. I am not gonna lie, I forgot Carmina existed. Well, okay, I forgot it existed during the time of the recording. I didn't go back and like record Carmina afterwards. I was just kind of messing around in my files, and it was just like, oh hey, there's this boss here that I haven't been to, and I actually went and like did the entirety of the spy cards quest. So yeah, that was fun going through that. Um, Carmina, kind of an interesting fight because no, normal in a normal playthrough, you breeze through this fight, right? Like it's not a terribly difficult challenge, and you don't really spend long enough to really figure out how the fight goes, at least in my experience. But in a situation like this, Carmina can be really, really deadly because you can't block any of his attacks. You can't do anything about any of his attacks. So if he just rolls constant sixes, you're screwed. You're done. So yeah, this is definitely the most RNG dependent fight there is. But it was fun. I did enjoy going through this fight. I I, I actually like it now that I actually understand the what's going on, the concept. And we get to Ultimax Tank. Okay, we got quite a few things to go over here. Firstly, let's point out the obvious. My stats are different. What's up with my stats? Well, that ties into the second thing I needed to talk about. I don't think this is possible. Okay, to clarify, I think this might be barely possible with like very perfect RNG and like perfect gameplay, but I don't have high hopes. I attempted this battle for hours, and I don't think I never got anywhere close to like killing the tanks, let alone uh beating Ultimax. So this fight, I don't know what to say. it so I don't think it's possible with base stats. So since I didn't like disallow I didn't disallow what are they called? I didn't disallow key items. So items such as like the stat boosting berries, I could use those. Uh So I did not level up HP or TP. So uh, yeah, I did not break any rules technically. But because I this is kind of a special occasion, I'm going to go, after this fight, I'm going to go back and revert my stats to see what bosses I can do with just the base stats. Um, so yeah, this fight, it's difficult. Uh, and unfortunately, this and one other fight, uh, the footage ended up corrupting, so I had to replay the entire game just to uh just to like redo it, uh, get the footage back. Um, and so what kind? I don't know, man. I guess one other thing too is because I had to do this on a new save file, I wasn't at the same level I was before. So I don't know if you noticed earlier, but I, eh, due to one of the other fights, I uh, I got to a level where it gave me the free HP level up, but I do not have that. I don't have that extra HP here because I didn't reach that level. Um, so just minor things. This might be possible with less HP parries. Actually, I think it's super possible. I think the main thing that really sells this is the 12 TP, because two sharing stashes is really nice. But yeah, this fight sucks. If anyone would like to prove me wrong and do this with base stats, please feel free to go ahead. I would love to see that, but as of right now, I don't think this fight is possible. This being the second fight I had to re-record, and luckily I didn't actually need to up my stats again. Uh, this fight, it's a little bit tricky if you approach it okay, it's actually impossible if you go about it the wrong way, but luckily there is a way you can go about it. Basically you have to stall. Uh, Maki is gonna tear through the Deadlanders, and since we're not gonna be doing much damage anyway, we're just gonna do whatever chip damage we can and hope for the RNG to bless us by targeting whoever has the bubble shield on him. So what I do is just I put Kabu in the front and just let him keep attacking. Um, this could also work with Leaf as well, since he does the same damage. I just didn't think about it before going in. But yeah, super possible fight. So Wasp King really sucks sometimes. The whole thing with this fight is it can either go really bad for you really quick, or it can go mindlessly easy. Basically, uh, he, he's got a few other like moves he can do, but the main two I think of are is like he'll his his axe swing where he runs up and swings his axe at you. That does I think like five or so damage, 5 or 6 damage. No, I think it does 5 damage. And then his fireballs, which I think do two per. Uh, Basically, what you want in this fight is for him to just spam fireballs, so that way you can super block them all and take 0 damage. That will, if he does that a lot, you'll pretty much have a easy time. I think around 35 HP ish, 30, 35, somewhere around there. He'll go into phase two and he'll get haste, and all that does is just open. Basically, that just gives him more opportunities to use the axe swing, which we do not want him to use. So best thing to do is just do the same thing we've been doing before. Once he gets there, freeze him, and then just stall, stall as long as you can, or not stall, but keep him from using his moves as long as you can. And if if you get two freezes off, he should be like with it below 20 HP ish, around somewhere around there, I think. If you can only get one off, you might still be fine, but this fight does require some RNG to get through. But it still can be done without stat boosting berries, so hey, that's a plus. And here we are, the final battle. Okay, you can see it's not possible. I can barely get through the first phase without berries, let alone the next two stages. So yeah, I'm gonna roll this one out as possible. But it is also very, very difficult with stat boosting berries. So I'm not gonna talk over this. I'm just gonna let you guys watch this, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this final battle. And just like that, the hardest Bug Fables challenge is completed. Technically. I have technically beat MP only, no items, no badges. This was pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed this little challenge a lot. Uh some bosses were a lot harder than others and gave me a very difficult time. But in the end, I think it was worth doing this challenge. I think it was pretty fun, and I learned a lot more about Bug Fables during the process, and that's all I could really ask for. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I don't think there's any other fights I could possibly do. No, that's all the fights. I don't know what to tell you. That's all the boss fights. Um, yeah, no, they're impossible. So I originally wanted to end the video there. I thought that was a kind of satisfying ending, being the Wasp King and being able to beat the final boss. I thought that was cool, but I know people would eventually ask about Team Maki and Team Slacker, the post game fights. So I decided to give those a try. Well, I already did, and I'm gonna give a brief synopsis of them. Uh, so firstly, the leaf bug ambush, which I'm showing right now, that's just barely possible with stat boosting berries. It's very tricky, and I'm sure with like a little more planning, it could be a lot easier. But I did not have any sort of plan in mind, and I kind of got screwed over as a process. But I'm sure you can make that fight a lot easier. Um, Next up is going to be Team Maki. Team Maki, okay, so Team Maki and Team Slacker are both impossible. Uh, so yeah, they're not possible, and that's kind of why I didn't want to include them. But I just decided, I'll just record my best attempt and show that at the very end. So basically, what I did for both of those fights was just put max stats on V. Uh, I just put every single berry, both burly berries, both spicy peppers, all the HP ups and whatnot. I just put all of them on V and just saw how far it got, which surprisingly far, you could say. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video, or at least the end of my commentary. I really hope you enjoyed, because this was a fun challenge, and yeah, if you choose to stick around for Team Maki and Team Slacker, thank you for watching the video all the way through. Um, yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Bye.